Hey everyone, welcome back to the Twisted ADV channel. My name's Chris. Thank you so much for the love and support that you gave on the last video. That Metal Cloak HD steering kit, man, we had like 7,000 views in less than 2 months, and so that was amazing. Truly appreciate the support. If you watched the end of that video, you know exactly why we're here today, and that's because of the failure of my Rock Krawler front lower control arm. I was still having some depth wobble when we drive down the road. It didn't matter if it was a highway, if it was this country roads, side roads, whatever, parking lot. I would get a little bumping and some weird sounds, and man, I would get some loose steering. And basically, bottom line is this. I pulled the bolt and this thing just fell right out of the control arm, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to thread in to a certain length, you tighten the jam nut and you're good to go, and you just gotta make sure it's torqued down. I would make sure that they were greased, and I would make sure that it was tight on the jam nut and everything else. And because I have a drop bracket in there for the lift, the previous owner put that in there, and you're really supposed to be using stock control arms. Even according to JKS, they say or recommend that you shouldn't be using adjustables.
I generally do not run these in combination with an adjustable control arm. One of their biggest benefits is they shorten the distance between the axle mount and the lower control arm, thus making the factory control arm longer than needed, addressing caster, okay? So I don't need an adjustable control arm with these.
So anyway, all that being said, I checked the warranty with Rock Krawler. I went online, read up, tried to follow up on this stuff, and they basically said this is a user issue. I should have been keeping this tight and checking on it and all this kind of stuff. So they wouldn't stand behind the product, and as a customer, I'm not going to stand behind them either. So moving on. I am totally thrilled with the support from Metal Cloak, the shipping, the customer service, the product itself. I've seen hundreds of reviews on these things. I've seen other people drive around with it. So I am fully 100% confident in my choice of continuing putting Metal Cloak on my Jeep and standing behind them, because I know they stand behind this. I've been totally thrilled with the steering kit that I put on there. I've been totally thrilled with my Metal Cloak fenders. So I'm kind of staying in that theme. I like what they've got. I got online and ordered the entire control arm set. Again, I have all stock on there except for those Rock Krawlers on the front lowers. So I'm thrilled to go ahead and get this all set up. It's going to be able to dial in my caster the right way. And I love the support that they give as a company. I love the product that they have. The customer service is outstanding. I think like Bobby called me like the very next day after the order to tell me all about what I ordered. He told me all about the DuroFlex joints. He told me about how I can service them and get the grease for them. It's like once a year you're supposed to service them, so it's basically a maintenance-free joint. He told me about the size of the crow's feet that I needed to ensure that my jam nuts are tightened up and torqued down. He gave me the torque ratings, and everything was awesome. He even asked for the size of my head, so they sent me a hat in the shipping. I'm just, what else can you say? It's awesome. The product itself, it's got all kinds of cool things. Let me tell you a little bit about it. It's CNC formed with 1/2 DOM steel and 1 5/8 for the lower, so really thick and sturdy and durable stuff. It's adjustable forged threaded ends, high clearance bends. They use the DuroFlex joints with enhanced with Kevlar. They're vibration dampening, so they're not going to transfer all that road bumps and grind and everything else that's going on there. It's all going to get captured up in that joint and not transferred up into the driver. So I'm really thankful for that. More like a stock film, probably even better than stock. There is a 68 degrees of maximum travel for articulation. So when you're on a trail and you're really flexing it out, it's got so much more than a lot of the competing brands out there. So I'm really excited about that. It's got this gold, zinc, chromate, that stuff on there. So it's going to be protected from the elements and the rust and all that kind of stuff. If you don't like the gold, you can even paint it without any issue. Just make sure you don't get any paint on the joint itself. And then one other cool thing is they're self-centering, so as soon as you do flex out, they're going to return right back to center just like they're supposed to, without being all kinds of wonky and crazy. So I'm really excited about what we've got going on here. I've got my instructions printed off. The only thing we have to do before we get started is just get each one of these lined up measurement wise. Just take your tape measure, get them set up based off the chart for a 2.5 to 3.5 inch lift, and then make sure you have a little anti-seize, put that on there, kind of set the jam nut, and then drop the old ones off and then put the new ones on there. So let's go ahead and get started and jump right into this thing. Come on, guys. Oh, hey, yeah, and before we get started, check him out, Twisted ADV stickers. If you want one, let me know in the comments below. I'll get you hooked up. All right. Okay guys, now before we start anything, what we want to do is unthread each one of the ends here. I'm going to keep them lined up so I don't get anything kind of out of order. But what I want to focus on is making sure that I have anti-seize on each one of the threads and that the proper measurement is made for each one of the arms. Now you'll see here, we do have an arms length check for each one of them, uppers, lowers. Some of them are pretty close to stock, some of them are a little extended. And then we're gonna get those all dialed in, tighten up the jam nut just a little bit just to keep it in place. And then once we get them on the vehicle, we'll make the final adjustment check and then really torque them down. Measurement will be 27/16. Well, all right, guys, we got everything locked in as far as our measurements are concerned. Let's go ahead and get the Jeep jacked up, wheels off, suspension drooped, and we'll go ahead and get those old control arms off, get the new ones on there. Come on, guys. All right, so we have our suspension drooped. If you find that you need a little bit more, you can go ahead and take off the shock. You can also disconnect your sway bar link or disconnect the drive shaft, and that will get you your full droop. Also be aware of your brake lines and your ABS sensor, just to make sure that whenever it's falling down that you don't rip those lines. So be careful for that. Obviously the lower has already been removed, showed that at the beginning of the video. And then to remove the upper, you have an 18mm bolt on the front and back to take that off. Now as far as this bracket's concerned, there is a bolt inside the frame here, and then we have to use an extension to get in there. And on the back side, if you have a stock system and you're replacing this, you may find that you have to cut the bolt because it's too long. It's going to end up bumping in to the exhaust. And so you'll have to back it out, cut it, and back the rest of it out. And then Metal Cloak does give you a new bolt to install for that. All right, so we got the upper one removed. That was pretty easy. And then we'll go ahead and take the bolt off the top of there, get this other bolt out of the bracket and drop that JKS bracket. And we should be able to start working the install. All right, so we got the drop bracket out, we got the upper control arm out, and now we have the Metal Cloak. This side is gonna go towards the front, this will go to the rear. It is measured out at 18 3/4. Here is the bolt that they want us to use, and it's gonna go right inside the frame. So you're gonna put the front in, and then slide that bolt through, and then attach the other side. It's gonna be kind of a pain using an extension, make sure it lines up with the bolt, and then we'll get this lined up on the front. Once we have to kind of manipulate the axle. The front will use stock hardware. All right, so we'll just put that in there for now, and then we'll go ahead and try to line up this with the back side, see if it works. All right, so you can see I am about a 1/2 inch difference between the two, so I'm gonna have to pull the axle back to be able to get that to be attached. Okay, now when you're doing this, you may find that the axle is a little too forward or a little too back, and sometimes you gotta muscle it through, and that's why they want you to droop everything and disconnect everything so you can kind of manage that axle pretty well. I'm using a tie down strap, and I'm gonna try to ratchet it so it can bring that thing a little closer, and I'll show you what I'm doing with it. So I've got a tie strap or a tie down, attached to the frame here. Ratchet it around and right around the axle, and so I'm going to ratchet that a little closer so when I bring this up, it will go into its proper place. Okay, so here's some advice. So the instructions talk about this bolt where the exhaust is, right? You cut the other one out and you put this one in. The problem is that the hole here, even though it's supposed to be a 1/2 inch that fit the original 1/2 inch bolt, this one wouldn't go through. Every time I was trying to go through there, it was like butting in there and whatever. I was trying to almost have to screw it in. And I was afraid of it stripping up threads. So I went ahead and got a 1/2 inch bit, and I ran it through there real quick. just to kind of make sure that it was opened up just a little bit. And now this bolt goes right in there. So you may have to do a slight adjustment with a drill bit, 1/2 inch, run it in there real quick just to make sure that it is properly sized to receive the new bolt. Okay, now we're going to start the front lower, and what you want to make sure is that the locking nut goes towards the rear. This will go to the front connection up right over here, and I've got my ratchet strap there just in case I need to do any type of adjustments. You do want to notice that the bend needs to go inward, so that way for the tire clearance. Get that out of here. Time to start putting in the control arms. Go. Oh, we'll start with the top first, or the upper, and go from there. Not all is lost. Definitely need to have that. Okay. Hi, Odin. Hi, Odin. Hi, Odin. That good boy. Huh? That good boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Okay, up. Smell like a skunk, Odin. You smell like a skunkers. Huh? You smell like a skunk. We're gonna have to bring the axle this way just a hair. Maybe not. Nice! Wrong nut. I got the wrong nut. I got the right nut. Gotta keep track of your nuts, you know? Oh, keep track of your nuts, you know? Alright, and we'll torque those down. It's 117 here, 125 here, 75 foot-pounds up the top, and 75 up here for the other side. Let's go ahead and get them wheels on and drop this down. We done with the front, son. All right, so now we're gonna take our handy dandy tool and make sure that our caster look is pretty good. We're looking around 5, 4.5, you know, somewhere in there to keep that drive line happy and to make sure that we have a nice, good return on the steering wheel. And it might be a little flighty down the highway. We'll see how it pans out, but again, we're gonna use our little tool, see where we're at. 0. We'll put it on our C. Okay. I can't see it. Alright guys, so the control arms supposed to dial in at for a 2.5 to 3.5 inch lift. Should be 5 degrees, and we're sitting at 4.9. Sweet. $75. Pop and go. All right, so now we're going to take this crow's foot and we are going to tighten that jam nut as tight as we can. You heard it. That was 250 right there. All right, got the pull. Yeah, I had to use the foot. Boom. Got it. All right, that's 250. All right guys, got another storm brewing here in Oklahoma, and we have time to get the rear control arms installed on the Jeep. This is what we're looking at right now. We'll go ahead and get those rear wheels set and taken off, and we'll get those new arms put on. All right, guys, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this hanger and slide it up inside the frame here. And you'll notice that it's got this little section here at the very end of it. And there's a slot for that. And what you wanna do is stab it inside there. That should pretty much line it up where it should be in the hole. So that way whenever you go to feed in the bolt, we should be able to be lined up. Okay, I think we got it. Let's see if we got it on the first try. I don't think so. It doesn't feel like it. So I'm gonna pull back just a little bit. Find that sweet spot again. Stab it. Okay. Ooh, I think we got it, guys. So now we'll be able to actually tighten that bolt without an issue. So let's go ahead and start trying to get this one lined up. If I have the right bolt. You have the lower control arm jammed up to the front. We're going to go ahead and reuse stock hardware. Stab this bad dude right in there. Start tightening her down. The drive, maybe just a little lift under the drive shaft, and we get that to twist up, and we'll be good. Maybe one more. Catch. Oh yeah. All right, we're gonna have to give it a good push. All right. All right, we'll go ahead and get the rest of those tightened on and then start on the other side. So now we got to move that axle that way to be able to get that to fit in there. We should be good to go. I'm just going to lift up the jack just a little bit and we'll start to feed this bolt on in, hopefully. Alright, sweet. Alright, now time for the lower. Okay, so now we can go ahead and take the lower, stab it, and be done. All right, there we go. Twist her up. Tighten her a little bit. All right, now for the lower connection, and then we'll be done. Okay, I'm like that close. Woo! Get that nut on there. Well, all right, guys, we got all 4 of them in, and I tell you what, pretty easy job on the rear. Not much headache like they were on the front, but I will tell you this, that the hangers for those uppers, that was a little bit sketchy, you know, just kind of trying to get in there and see and line it up. It's a kind of a little feel thing. But anyway, we're gonna get the wheels on, drop everything down, and then we're gonna torque all of those connection points and then really hit those jam nuts hard with a 250 foot-pound. All right, guys, job's almost done. Each control arm will be set at 125 foot-pounds. That's 250. Okay, tip number 2. Before you put the wheels on, before you drop everything, you may want to consider tightening the upper jam nuts. For both the front and the rear. The crow's foot, it just doesn't fit on there because the frame is in the way. You see that these are kind of set deep, and that lip at the front there, man, it just hits the frame and you can't get this around that jam nut at all. But dude, not happening with the crow's foot while on the vehicle. So I'm gonna have to take this wheel back off to properly torque that jam nut. Sucks, guys, but you do what you gotta do. Okay, got it. All right, that wraps up another video. I really appreciate you sticking around to watch this one. I know it was a little longer, but hopefully you got something out of the how-to on this one. It's pretty easy. Drop the old ones, put the new ones in there, torque them down in the right setting. You may have to adjust for the measurements based off of your lift height and all that kind of thing. But for me, this one dialed right in at 5-degree caster, and I tell you what, going down the highway, the dirt roads, I went over rocks, I went in water crossings, all of those things to kind of test out the flex and just the mannerisms of the new setup, and it was perfect. I didn't have any single complaints about it whatsoever. So if you like what you saw, click the like and subscribe. I got a few more videos in the pipeline, so stick around, more to come. Catch you later, guys.